The night of March 22, 1944, the water off the coast of Italy is cold enough to numb a man's hands inside 2 minutes. 60 miles north of La Spezia, in the dark, 15 men in American uniforms slip off a rubber boat and wade ashore. There is fog low on the beach, no moon. The kind of night a demolition team prays for. They carry explosives, cutting tools, and orders to destroy a stretch of rail line that feeds the German war machine running north through the Italian mountains. They are 250 miles behind enemy lines, further from friendly territory than almost any American unit operating in the theater that spring. Every one of them knows the risk. None of them believes, on this particular night, that the greater danger is not the mission itself. It is what happens if they are caught wearing the uniform they are wearing right now. The operation has a name, Ginny II. It is small, deniable, and, on paper, entirely legal. The men are members of the U.S. Army's operational group, attached to the Office of Strategic Services. Civilians, soldiers, not spies, dressed in full American uniform, carrying no false papers, operating under military orders. Under the Hague Convention, that distinction matters more than almost anything else in this story. A soldier captured in uniform on a legitimate military mission is a prisoner of war. He is fed, housed, registered with the Red Cross, and kept alive until the war ends. That is the rule. It has held, more or less, since 1907, respected even by armies that despise each other in every other respect. 15 young Americans are counting on it holding tonight, too. Their commanding officer is First Lieutenant Vincent Russo, 23 years old, an OSS-trained officer who has rehearsed this exact kind of mission for months. He is the one who has to make the call when the demolition charges fail to detonate cleanly, and the team is forced to abandon the operation early, moving back toward the coast faster than planned, hoping to be picked up before daylight. It doesn't happen. German coastal patrols spot them near the shoreline. There is no firefight worth the name. Outnumbered, exposed, and without a realistic path back to the water, Russo's men surrender. They are marched inland under guard, still in full uniform, dog tags on, hands raised. By any standard that has governed warfare between professional armies for decades, they have just done everything right. Surrender, when the position is hopeless, is not a failure. It is what keeps soldiers alive to go home. They are brought to a holding position under the control of the 135th Fortress Brigade. 2 Kriegsmarine intelligence officers question them there. Korvettenkapitän Friedrich Klaps, commander of the small Abwehr station at La Spezia, and his subordinate, Oberleutnant zur See Georg Zessler. The interrogation is almost gentle by wartime standards. Klaps tricks Russo into believing another team member has already talked, and Russo, thinking the operational details are already compromised, fills in the rest. It's a bluff. No one had said a word. Russo doesn't realize the mistake until it's too late to matter. But nothing in the exchange suggests these 15 men are being treated as anything other than what they are. Prisoners of war, captured in the field, awaiting transfer to a proper camp. Klaps and Zessler file their report up the chain the way professionals do, expecting the matter to proceed exactly as it always has. Then the telegram arrives. It comes down from 75th FIU. FAP's Army Corps Headquarters, addressed to the brigade holding the Americans. 4 words carry the entire weight of it. The captured Americans will be shot immediately. The order is signed by General Anton Dostler, commander of the 75th Army Corps, a career officer, not a frightened conscript improvising under fire. Dostler knows exactly what the Hague Convention says about uniformed prisoners. He knows the difference between a spy and a soldier. He signs the order anyway, invoking Hitler's commando order, Chan Tiharns Chitidirati Tati Mainz, a standing directive that any Allied commando captured behind German lines, regardless of uniform, be executed without trial. The men holding the prisoners are not eager to comply. Colonel Ulmers, in direct command at the brigade level, reads the order and pushes back. He asks Dostler to reconsider, or at minimum, to delay the execution while the legality of the order is reviewed through proper channels. Claps and Sessler, the two intelligence officers who had questioned the Americans just hours earlier, are described afterward as shocked by the instruction. These are not sentimental men. They are professionals who understand exactly what they are being asked to do and exactly what it means under the very laws of war they themselves have been trained to operate within. That is the detail worth sitting with. Nobody in this chain of command is confused about what "shot immediately" means for 15 uniformed prisoners of war. Every officer who touches this order understands it is a war crime the moment he reads it. Dostler's answer to Ulmer's objection is final. The Americans will be shot before 0700 the next morning. No exceptions, no further discussion. This is where a story like this earns whatever it's going to be remembered for. Not in the violence itself, but in what happens after it, when the paper trail this single order creates starts moving through the machinery built specifically to catch men like Dostler. At dawn on March 26th, a Wehrmacht firing squad carries out the order. All 15 Americans are shot. Their bodies are placed in a mass. Unmarked grave near the execution site. No notification to the Red Cross. No record passed through the normal channels used for documenting prisoner deaths. Nothing that would let their families know what happened to them for more than a year. Vincent Russo, the young lieutenant who thought he was surrendering into captivity, is among the dead. For Dostler, the war simply continues. He commands his corps through the following year, retreating with the rest of the German army through northern Italy as the front collapses, and is eventually captured by American forces as Germany surrenders. By the autumn of 1945, he finds himself in a holding facility in Rome, one more captured German officer among thousands. Except for the telegram with his own signature on it, which has already made its way into Allied hands. If you've made it this far, you already understand what this channel exists to do, not to relitigate the war in the abstract, but to follow the paperwork, the orders, and the men who signed them, all the way to the room where someone finally had to answer for it. That's the part most documentaries skip. We don't. The investigation into the fate of the missing Ginny team doesn't move quickly. It moves the way most war crimes investigations move in a collapsing continent, buried under the volume of 100 other atrocities being uncovered as Allied forces push deeper into Germany and Italy that spring. But it does move. Survivors from the 75th Corps staff are questioned in the weeks after the surrender. The telegram itself surfaces in captured German military files, cross-referenced against Ulmers's own account of the objection he raised and lost. By mid-1945, American war crimes investigators attached to the Mediterranean theater have assembled enough documentation to bring formal charges. The case is handed to a U.S. military commission convened under the authority of General Joseph T. McNarney, the Army's commanding general in the Mediterranean theater. McNarney does not personally sit on the panel, but the commission operates under his authority, and the charges that reach his desk are unambiguous. The execution of 15 uniformed American prisoners of war, in direct violation of the laws of war, on the signed order of a general officer. What makes the Dostler case different from so many others being prosecuted in the same period is how little room it leaves for a defense. Dostler's lawyers try anyway. Their argument rests on the Führerbefehl, the commando order, insisting Dostler had no legal choice but to comply with a direct instruction from Hitler himself. It is the same superior orders defense that will be raised, with mixed success, throughout the war crimes trials of this era. The prosecution's answer is precise and difficult to counter. The Americans captured in Operation Ginny were never handed over to the Sicherheitsdienst for interrogation or disposal under the commando order's own stated procedure. meaning Dostler wasn't simply following Hitler's directive to the letter. He was making an independent decision to execute uniformed prisoners of war, one his own subordinates had tried to talk him out of before it happened. A soldier of ordinary sense and training, the prosecution argues, would have known this order was illegal the moment it reached him. Dostler was not an ordinary soldier. He commanded a corps. The trial opens at the Royal Palace of Caserta, outside Naples, in October 1945. It runs 4 days. Dostler sits through testimony from surviving German officers who had served under him, men like Claps and Sessler, whose own documented discomfort with the order becomes part of the record against their former commander. The prosecution lays out the timeline in exacting detail. The capture on the beach, the interrogation, the telegram, Almers's objection, Dostler's refusal to reconsider, the execution at dawn. There is very little for the defense to dispute on the facts themselves. The argument is almost entirely about law, whether a general following what he believed was a legitimate directive from his head of state can escape responsibility for an act he knew, and his own subordinates knew, violated the basic rules governing prisoners of war. Dostler, by most accounts of the proceedings, remains composed throughout, insisting to the end that he had done his duty as a soldier under orders from above. On October 12, 1945, after 4 days of testimony, the military commission returns its verdict: guilty. The sentence, recorded in the old, almost ceremonial language of army courts-martial, is to be shot to death by musketry. 50 days later, at a prisoner stockade in the town of Aversa, Anton Dostler is executed by firing squad, Idan Tutus Hadi Tuanau, the first German general officer tried and put to death solely on the authority of the United States, without a joint Allied tribunal, for a war crime committed against American soldiers. It is a legal precedent that will be cited in the years that follow, in cases far larger than his own, including at Nuremberg, whenever a defendant tries to argue that following orders was enough. The 15 men of Operation Ginny do not get a headline the way Malmedy does, or the way the death camps do. Their names are not the ones most people learn first when they study this war. But they are recorded in the National Archives, in the transcript of United States versus Anton Dostler, in case files that would later be cited as precedent in war crimes law for decades afterward. Vincent Russo, the lieutenant who tried to hold his team together on a beach 250 miles behind enemy lines, has his name entered permanently into that record, alongside the 14 men who trusted him to bring them home. Their bodies, recovered after the war from the unmarked grave near the execution site, were eventually identified and returned for proper burial. The quiet, procedural end that 15 families had waited more than a year to receive, delivered not through combat, but through the slow, deliberate machinery of a courtroom at Caserta reading a signed telegram back to the man who wrote it. That's the part of this story worth remembering. Not the beach, not the fog, not even the firing squad at dawn. It's the paper. A general who believed a signature could end the matter quietly, on the wrong side of a rule he understood perfectly well, found out 4 days in a courtroom that the record doesn't forget, even when the men who wrote it hope that it will. If stories like this one, the ones that get buried under bigger headlines but still deserve to be told right, are worth your time, that's exactly what this channel is built to keep doing. There's more of them.